All right, the new government of local unity in the City of Johannesburg has vowed to prioritise service delivery for residents. 10 newly elected members of the Mayoral Committee were sworn in at the Constance Bapela Council Chambers in Braamfontein. They form part of the newly elected coalition administration after the Multiparty government collapsed. A motion of no confidence in former Mayor Dr Mpho Phalatse. Johannesburg Mayor Sello Dada Morero says that his administration has been tasked with addressing issues of inequality, poverty and unemployment. Morero has urged Johannesburg residents to hold the incoming MMCs accountable. 10 new appointments were affirmed by the regional court president in a swearing-in ceremony. The all-new administration is made up of 4 ANC councillors and 6 others from minority parties. Their positions became vacant after the previous administration was ousted during a council sitting. Dr Mpho Phalatse is headed to court though next week to challenge the legitimacy of the sitting in which she lost a motion of no confidence. Her successor has vowed to lead with integrity. Morero is currently visiting residents in Eldorado Park who protested outside the police station following a spate of murders. Right, we're going to stay then on this story, and our reporter Dr Mpho has certainly been following the story for us, and she joins us now in studio. A very good afternoon to you, Mbalent. All right, so you've certainly been following this particular story. Tell us more about the Johannesburg Mayor Sello Dada Morero, promising the people of Eldorado Park. And I will say it was interesting to note in a tweet by the former mayor, she kind of asked whether the new mayor will be headed to Eldorado Park, and it seems as though her request was heeded, if one can put it that way.
Well, it's unclear what the reasons were, if, the former mayor, Dr Mpho Phalatse, was the reason why the current mayor made his way to present the newly elected MMCs to the community of Eldorado Park. But you will understand that they did come together as minority parties, many of whom do come from the community that is Eldorado Park. You would have seen, you would have heard if you were there when he was really addressing the public that, many of the people who form part of the MMCs do come from the community, but it seems as though this was a pressing issue that needed to be addressed, and it seems Dada went there to try and provide some form of solutions to the problems that community members were raising, and safety, the rising levels of crime are some of the issues that were raised there. And he spoke about economic opportunities and skills development as some of the answers that he thinks would then assist in terms of ensuring that people are, at least doing something or doing something gainful during the day. Excuse me. And this would then obviously assist in terms of, the issue of substance abuse within the area. So he went there to try and address some of the issues. He was met by a very angry group of people who have experienced all kinds of unfortunate events, the death of a loved one, gunshots just outside their doors, so that's what you saw in Eldorado Park.
It does seem though that he was addressing long-term solutions, and I would imagine, given the anger that you speak of in the community, that people want action now, that they want the solutions for now, the short-term solutions. When it comes to that, what exactly did Morero say? One would want to know where exactly one starts.
Certainly. What he did say, he asked Eldorado residents to give him and his cabinet, to his administration rather, time to try and address some of these issues. He did vow and promise that he would be reporting back to residents and community members regularly, and the first report back will be this coming Friday.
So there were some timelines put in place.
Yes, so definitely timelines where he just tried to, make them know that, let them know that, he is in the process of trying to address many of those issues. And also speaking about, community safety, MEC for community safety was also there, and also looking at how JMPD can also be brought in to try and strengthen safety and, law enforcement within the area. one of the residents did complain about issues of around gang violence, saying that they had called on the National Police Commissioner to at least deploy more police within those areas, but they've heard that, you know, the turf war continues unabated despite their pleas and their calls. So those calls do continue, but it seems as though there is some form of a plan of sorts that the mayor is also just trying to work on. But obviously he did admit that, you know, this is not something that, you know, local governments can do alone. You would need, you know, the assistance from national governments, you know, in order to address many of the challenges and the safety issue and the crime levels within the area.
Is there a sense that, you know, the ANC is trying to, and for lack of better wording, I'll use the word win back the community of Eldorado Park? It does seem that the Patriotic Alliance, for example, is really making inroads when it comes to that particular community. Is that the sort of messaging that you kind of got, you know, as you were indeed listening to the incoming mayor?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because it seems as though the incoming mayor had to strike somewhat of a balance. Now, if we look back to the motion of no confidence that we saw being tabled at the Johannesburg Council just not so long ago, you would have seen that it was brought by the minority parties, you know, and they all voted on it, and they came together as the minority parties, including the ANC, and they voted, and they were able to then, you know, collapse for lack of a better word, the multi-party government, and obviously then elect a leader of their own. And because of that, and because of the fact that they've had to collaborate and work together, they have to then recognize their strengths, you know, and the fact that some of them actually, and the contributions rather, that they've made in terms of bringing about this new administration that we now see taking over at the City of Johannesburg. So they had to then there had to be that balancing act, it seems, from where I'm standing, where you bring in and accommodate other people, especially because people from smaller parties, especially because one of the issues that really emerged from the multi-party government is that the smaller parties felt like they were not considered for, you know, positions or key positions, and that's what led to a lot of unhappiness around the multi-party government. And this is what we've heard from parties like the Action SA, as well as the IFP. You will remember that the IFP had requested to elect a speaker from their party, but it seems as though that request was not, you know, heeded by the then multi-party government, and that's what happened. So right now you see the ANC really just trying to manage relations and to ensure that they're able to manage the city and possibly even stay in power for as long as possible, because this is a numbers game at the end of the day. You know, all these parties are coming together to, you know, govern together and also to hold each other accountable, because no one has an outright majority.
All right, but Mpho, many thanks to you covering the story for us, of course, as Mayor Dada Morero, Joburg Mayor Dada Morero, of course, has been in Eldorado Park addressing residents there about their concerns. Many thanks to you, Mbalendle.